LGBT movement is failing. Well, I don't necessarily think it's failing per se, but it's definitely not on the same trajectory as it once was. The problem is that a lot of the people of the LGBT movement celebrate too much when it's by the way, happy Pride Month, everybody, happy Pride Month. People think that corporations actually fucking care about their movement. They don't. They use that to get a couple extra bucks on the Starbucks sales or maybe a Walmart deal or two. They don't care, and they've never cared, and people think that they care because they're dumb. But the other reason why the LGBT movement right now is because they do a lot of weird shit. I'll be real, the pride parades where they walk around naked with their dicks out in the street when there's children watching is just a little bit too much. And I think the other reason why the LGBT movement isn't doing as well as it used to is because too many people say, I'm gay, I'm trans, that's my whole personality. And yeah, I think people are a lot more than the country they come from. I think people are more than the sexuality of themselves. And it kind of just boils people being down to just very annoying and generic. Yeah, that's just my opinion though. Let's keep going here.
Some carry hate. We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point, that trans is natural.
Please.
Well, actually, it's just like not. There was a VTuber called Nyara VT who said that humans can't consent to puberty, but they can consent to HRT. But the whole process of transitioning requires like outside medical science and surgery. That's like saying breast implants are natural. It's just like not, and like that's fine. Like, but let's just tell the truth right now, right? Because when you root your cause in lies, it's going to deter people more than actually bring them on ship.
Tell me what's natural about having to wear a wig and tons of eye makeup to try and get people to treat you like a woman.
The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species...
No, okay, so you throw that word around a lot. Transphobes, homophobes. So here's the thing. I love gay people. I think it's fine. Who cares? I think they're hilarious, right? Like a lot of my friends are actually gay, and I'll be real. I used to wish that I was gay because I thought gayer people were funnier than straight people because they're like more flamboyant and more fun. I have nothing against gay people whatsoever. But the thing that really irritates me about the whole trans movement is that I've made it very clear. I don't give a fuck what anybody does to their bodies once they're 18, once they're 23, once they're 25. Do whatever the fuck you want. My problem is when transgenders or parents that want to have a female or want to have a male groom their kids into being male or female and then give them hormone therapy at the ages of 8 and 9 and 10. I just want my kids to be fucking safe. I want my generation to be safe. And as a guy who plans on having a kid very soon, I worry about what my kid is going to be told by their peers with all this woke progressive bullshit happening on the earth. And that's pretty much just it.
Species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth.
That had to be the most disingenuous analogy that I've ever heard. Show me a human male that's become female spontaneously without spending like $100,000 in the operating room. Well, even the surgeries don't change their biology, and just because certain animals can do things doesn't mean that humans can do those things. Some animals aren't sexually dimorphic, and the females are just as strong as the males. That's not humans, though. There are a lot of differences between the sexes. I mean, I don't think I've seen an analogy this bad since the croissant analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and once again, when your movement is based on lies, it's gonna radicalize people against you. I'll be real. I understand why people do transition. However, I don't think that's a topic that people are ready to hear right now in full detail because I've done a lot of research into this. But let's just stick to the truth of why people do it rather than the lies of why people do it, right? Because you want people on your side, and don't treat people like they're fucking stupid. Don't say that it's natural. You don't see any gorilla in the fucking forest transitioning. You don't see a lion in the fucking wilderness transitioning. That's just like not a thing that you can that you fucking see. It's just not, right? That's where you know what is natural and what is not.
Trans women aren't women, then is this big croissant not a croissant? Of course it's a croissant. It's made out of butter and dough just like any other croissant.
Okay. Well, the award for the worst analogy of all time goes to that thing. Jesus Christ.
It's a big croissant and a small croissant are still both croissants. Except that's not what's happening here. You're not a big croissant saying that you're a small one. You're a taco saying, I identify as a pastry.
So before I demolish this delicious and very valid pastry, repeat after me. Big croissants don't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, that's not the case.
Yeah, it doesn't, because the mentality is going to affect the youth and cause a lot of people to move forward with life-changing decisions that they might regret, which will also lead to the highest depression rate and the highest suicide rate, which is honestly cause for concern, obviously. But yeah, I mean, we also got to the point where you had people going at each other's throats, demanding they use the right pronouns and demanding immediate understanding on a very complex topic, and made everybody feel like they're a horrible person, as well as things like saying, making it blaspheme to say, if you're a man, you have a dick. If you're a woman, you have a vagina, which is just science. That's not transphobic. It's just fucking science. And it's really like, come on, guys. Like, what are we doing here?
In fact, that's exactly everyone's problem and why people have so much energy against trans activism. We were all just out here minding our own business, and then a bunch of activists started inserting themselves into everything and saying, you have to treat us how we demand you treat us, or you lose your job. This sort of extortionist behavior is why people are mad at the LGBT crowd.
Absolutely. You want to see what happened to me 4 years ago at the LGBT crowd? Let me show you what happened to me. I was playing this game called Genshin Impact, and there was this hot as fuck dude that had this big fat fucking ass. So naturally, because I was attracted to it, I assumed it was a fucking girl, but it was a dude. I called it a girl. It was actually a fucking guy. And then I got my first ever hate thread that had like well over 50,000 interactions on it over this. Because this fucking dipshit Tawana goes on fucking Twitter and tweets out, okay, hold on, I did not know Tectone misgendered Venti. I was not there for that part of the stream. Oh my God, he types this shit in all caps, like Jacksepticeye just announced the fact that he got diagnosed with autism. It's not even that fucking serious, bro. I got so much heat that the ripple effect this tweet caused was fucking insane. I was trending globally over that shit as a fucking transphobe because I called a hot dude a girl. Jesus.
Actually non-binary and use they them pronouns. I definitely could see that. In the best way possible, you look like you'd be non-binary. Slay, they. You realize that isn't a compliment, right?
I guarantee you that when people say that, 99% of the time it's not meant to be a compliment. And that's because as soon as you see the wacky hair color and the nose ring, oh wait, this person actually doesn't have a nose ring. Shocking. But when regular people see the wacky outfits, they know they're about to deal with a very difficult or annoying person. Or a narcissist. I mean, there are just so many examples of people with narcissistic personality disorder being gassed up by every major corporation for identifying as LGBT, and everyone hates stuff like this. From Today USA, women want to be her, men want to be with her. Dylan Mulvaney, the true definition of beauty and grace. Bro, Dylan Mulvaney doesn't
Like, why are we just lying, bro? This person's ugly as fuck. This thing is freaky as shit. Like, what?
even want to be Dylan Mulvaney. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of trans people out there who just want to mind their own business and go on with their lives. In fact, the right to be able to mind their own business was originally what the LGBT movement was pushing for. And I think that's an idea that most Americans these days would have no problem supporting. However, the activists, not the normie LGBT people, I'm specifically talking about the activist part of this community, constantly display the most self-centered and entitled behavior. And it's not transphobic or bigoted to point out when someone's being a self-absorbed asshole. Let's go back to that image. Women want to be her. Yeah, except for all the women who were pissed off at Dylan's woman face behavior. In fact, people were so mad at Dylan that Anheuser-Busch almost had to give up the Bud Light brand. Men want to be with her. No, they don't. Straight men don't. The second they find out you're trans, you're gonna get ghosted.
This video is for straight men and straight men only. I'm sorry, but how in the world could you not like me? Yes, I'm a trans woman, I'm a doll. Like, what is so different about dating me than a cis woman? You can do everything that she can.
Except have children. Did you notice the narcissistic, I'm so great behavior? That's why people don't like you. The guy I was on a date with just found out that I was trans. Why is he just finding out on the date? Why wasn't this disclosed on the dating app? I mean, they were definitely using a dating app where photos can be edited and the voice chat wasn't used. Why is it so hard to date straight men when you're just a normal trans girl who makes content for the internet? Well, there you go. Stop catfishing people and maybe you'll find someone who actually likes you. I mean, it's
the fact that you have to explain it to them is so insane.
It's crazy how many trans people think it's perfectly fine to start a relationship out by lying by omission.
What are you even really disclosing? What is there to disclose? There's no deception. When you're dating someone, you don't have to disclose every single thing about yourself up front. That's the fun of it. You get to learn about someone new.
Considering that the status of your sexuality is a big deal for a relationship, that definitely should be disclosed before you even go on a date. Though in this case, I actually wouldn't worry because I don't think anyone's being fooled by you.
He shows off his results of facial feminization surgery. What is your reaction? Again, just reading the tweets. Don't get mad at me. Let's take a look at this.
And I hate how every single time you talk about this shit, you have to say, guys, I'm gonna talk about trans people. Please don't get angry. Please don't get triggered. And when your entire movement is full of that many emotionally unstable people, why do you think nobody wants to fucking interact with you, right? It's like not good to be seen as this voracious, this fucking ferocious. It's just bad.
Bro, I'm gonna keep it a buck. You gotta go back and ask for a refund. Like, this was not a complete job. This is just incomplete homework.
Though to be honest,
straight up, bro. Straight up.
Some trans people are more feminine than others, and it's harder for normies to tell. So in the case where someone is intentionally tricked and any form of sexual contact happens that they would otherwise not consent to, I think that should be considered sexual assault. These people are all about consent, right? Well, you can't consent if you don't understand the terms of the deal, and if you're trying to trick someone into consenting to something they otherwise would not consent to if they had full knowledge of the terms, then that is very much the mentality of a rapist. You aren't fooling anyone. Everyone knows that you aren't disclosing this information right away for a reason.
If you think a person is on a date with you because they think that you're a girl, but you're not a girl, and when y'all go home that day to have sex and you pull out your dick that they didn't know that you had, that is absolutely non-consensual behavior. I actually had a homie that went on a date with a chick, thought there was a chick, and then, well, unfortunately, they pulled out a fucking dick, and my friend was so uncomfortable, and they didn't want to be seen as transphobic, they actually sucked this person's dick. Yep, because they were so afraid. They were so afraid of the hate they could get if they didn't, like, fucking do what this person wanted them to do. Yep, no, straight up, guys. It's weird as fuck. Not Miz. Not Miz. However, Miz did also suck another trans person's dick. That's all. He said that story himself. Not talking about Miz. But yeah, Miz also sucked a trans person's dick. Yep, that's very true. Yep. Bro, you're making shit up? No. No, I am not. I have no reason to make this shit up. Yeah, it is pretty fucking wild.
And really, the best way to continue to take power away from these people so they can't threaten us anymore is to just start calling stuff what it is. All the bullying that trans activists have been doing can completely be defeated if we just stick to reality. Which brings us to a trans TikTok influencer who goes by Lily Tino. Well, this person has already been brought up, but now I have a bigger point to make. If you haven't seen any of the content, this type of stuff is what Tino is famous for.
The bottom is from Thailand?
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, sorry, my bad. And the middle one is from India.
Thank you. Just like totally sucks the joy out of this bread tower. Makes me want to immediately like leave because I no longer feel like safe here. It's like, oh my God.
You don't feel safe? Oh my God, bro. Get a fucking grip, dude. Jesus, when you look like a dude, don't be upset when people say sir. Jesus.
Guard now has to be up. I'm not going to enjoy this bread as much because my part.
If you look like a dude and you sound like a dude and you get called a dude, why are you getting upset? You should be understanding. If you want to be called a woman, then just look like one. It's really that easy. Good God, bro. Jesus.
Go places and not have to worry. I don't think I really want this bread tower, actually. I think I'd rather have the check.
Did anyone catch what went wrong here? I actually had to watch this multiple times, so let's do a quick repeat.
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, sorry, my bad.
So Tino is mad because the waiter said sir. Well, it's kind of hard to call you a man when you look like a sir, and Tino knows that people will make this mistake, which is why tons of misgendering videos are on Tino's channel.
I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir.
What?
Oh my God, this has 1.3 million likes. Holy shit.
Call me sir.
Oh.
It's just like, it kind of just hurts a lot to get called sir. Thank you. I'm not sir.
Nothing like a good misgendering. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. It hurts more when it's not intentional because it means like this is sir to him.
Yeah, it's such a knife to the gut that you keep intentionally putting yourself in these situations and film them happening over and over again. Even with the feigned politeness, everyone knows that you're doing this on purpose. And not just that, but Tino has openly talked about not actually caring about being called sir.
Look, I don't need your approval to love my face. But honestly, keep these comments coming because they really don't bother me in the way that you think they bother me, and they boost engagement on my stuff, so keep at it.
A bunch of people saying sir in the comments is what's being responded to. So now we know that Tino bullying people is completely about getting attention. But let's go back to that bread video for a second.
We're supposed to say friend or just not use gendered language. It's like a pretty big thing that Disney has done. Nothing was wrong with bread. I just don't want it anymore.
Yeah, isn't it so fucked up that people are still using gendered language? You know, that thing that we've used for millions of fucking years before you all decided that now it's offensive. Sorry for not changing a practice that we've done for millions of years overnight. Good God. Do y'all remember when Latino and Latina got replaced with Latinx? Jesus.
Just because they apologize doesn't mean she doesn't feel sad or offended. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, if you've accidentally ever hurt someone and say, I'm so sorry, it was an accident, do you expect them to be like, oh, it was an accident? Of course, no problem whatsoever. All of that hurt is now undone. That's not how it works.
Sorry about what happened?
It's okay. I'd love to pay for the drink, please.
No, the drink is on me too, so...
You don't have, are you sure?
You're good, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Now you can see why Tino does this. Any narcissist would treat waiters like that if they got free food and special treatment from it. You do understand they had to throw all that food out, right? However...
Hello, sir. May I have a mojito? Oh, yes, sir, right away. Actually, it's ma'am. I demand to speak to your manager. Okay. Yeah, I really wonder why he made that confusion, bro. I really wonder why that happened. I mean, I got no idea, guys. Can you guys figure it out?
I don't know if you guys caught this, but the waiter had an accent, meaning that English is not his first language, so he probably is not all that privy to the pronoun BS because it's esoteric speech. I mean, if there's any indication that he doesn't understand what's going on, it's that he immediately says sir again after being told to say ma'am. And the whole subtext of this is that this guy spends all this time learning English, and then Tino is out here threatening his livelihood over a minor mistake. That's why you got the free drink. It's because he's afraid of a sociopath like you causing a scene and getting him fired. Especially considering that this occurred at Disneyland. So you know that if the waiter stands up for himself, the company is not going to back him. So,
do you respect homosexuals? I'm a lesbian. Yeah, of course. 100%. I mean, I'll be real. I think the pride parades are fucking out of fucking control. And I feel like maybe we don't like have our dicks out, right, while we're marching down the street butt-ass naked. But yeah, I don't give a fuck at all. Like, legit, once again, right? As long as you're above 18, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care, right? But just leave the kids alone, mind your business, and don't cause any type of disruption to society. It's really that easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really that easy.
Really, this person is just making money off of bullying foreigners and using transgenderism as a shield after being abusive. Because that's what this is. It's abuse. And abuse seems to be kind of a foundational strategy of trans activists. Tino has a lot of this type of content, as well as stuff that progressively gets creepier.
Made it into Disney World. I don't really know what the deal is with bathrooms. You know, Florida is really conservative. I don't know what the rules are. Trans women are allowed to be in women's bathrooms, but
It's like I'm underneath the firm belief that, like, being gay, being bisexual, being lesbian is natural. I mean, tons of animals are also the exact same way. Like, there's even fucking gay penguins, you know what I mean? Like, it's clearly in the DNA structure of a human being, right? And that's what I like basing my arguments and my logic off of is, you know, the problem is that people are saying that trans is natural. I'm not saying that trans is wrong. However, do whatever the fuck you want once you're 18 and 23, but don't lie to the youth and say that it's natural, because it's fucking not. It's a choice that you fucking make, right? It's really that easy.
I'm about to go and use the bathroom because I have to tinkle. If I get stopped, I get stopped, I guess. But
now maybe you have gender dysphoria and maybe you don't think it's a fucking choice, but it just doesn't happen in nature, which is why we should just say, hey, I felt like I was this way, so I got these operations, right? But like, you don't see monkeys and giraffes cutting off their dicks, right? You know what I'm saying?
A woman, so I'm going to use the women's bathroom, and being in Florida or being in California or wherever isn't going to stop me.
For one, it's already cringe to be a Disney adult. Two, not only is there this fetishizing with trans people of lying about their status in the hopes of tricking straight men, but there's also a fetishizing of using women's bathrooms. Here's a whole office of biological males filming in the women's bathroom, and I can't imagine how unnerving it must be for women to have to share this space with people who are obviously biological men.
Oh, I go where I please. I will continue to go into women's restrooms, women's locker rooms, women's spaces, because I am a woman, whether you like it or not, and there's nothing you can do about it. I go where I please. And so far, nobody's had the guts to even try and stop me.
Yeah, that's like the problem. I was in Canada 2013, 2014. Sorry, recollecting my past is, I'm fucking old, guys. 2013, 2014, I went to a college. There's this weird kid. He would always wear these headphones. Never learned their name, but I would always just call them headphones. Everybody called them headphones because they would just walk around, not say anything, and wear headphones. Then the whole transgender thing really started blowing up in Canada. And so they just started claiming they were trans. And, you know, my girlfriend at the time, soon to be wife, ex-wife later, would tell me that they would just stand in the bathrooms watching women. And nobody really knew what to do. They went to go talk to the management at the college, and they didn't know what to fucking do. And I think it's kind of bad when you're going to normalize this behavior and say, yeah, I go into women's restrooms and women's locker rooms, and if anybody fucking tells me otherwise, I'm going to fucking report them to the police for being transphobic. No, let me watch you strip. What is this rapey ass take?
Please. And so far, nobody's had the guts to even try and stop me.
Jesus, that shit's weird as fuck.
No one has tried to stop you because it's a bunch of women who have like half your strength, and they don't want to risk you being a psycho who will violently beat them if they speak up about you using the women's bathroom.
You're gonna give me my fucking money back.
Excuse me, sir. There's a young man in here. You need to
Well, excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
They aren't protesting because they're afraid. And what really should happen is that people should just stop going to places with mixed bathrooms. Oh, and speaking of borderline predator behavior, Tino loves to go to Disneyland to explain how transgender surgery works with kids in the background and child-friendly metaphors.
Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand reconfigured into a marshmallow tunnel. The outside of the wand is what becomes the inside of the tunnel.
This person needs to be put on a watch list. I think no one would be shocked if there are some skeletons in Tino's closet. These topics aren't appropriate for young kids.
Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand.
Why are you teaching kids about this shit? Why are we teaching the kids about this? What are we doing?
Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both?
For those of you who don't know what's going on, this is a parody of Miss Rachel, who is a very popular creator for very young kids. A friend of mine has a 2-year-old, and I caught an episode while he was visiting where she was teaching toddlers how to say no, so that was great. Well, maybe it's annoying to parents, but probably very useful if they ever meet someone like Lily Tino. And I'm not just making allegations here. Tino literally has an OnlyFans account and advertises that account in the same area where the videos targeted at children can be viewed. How is this not a crime? Can you see why people are mad now? Stuff like this happens over and over again, and this information gets pushed on younger and younger people way before it's age appropriate, and now they have stuff like this.
Applications are open for Brave Trails 2025. Whether you're new or returning, get ready for an unforgettable summer in California, New York, or Georgia. Brave Trails is the summer camp for LGBTQ+ youth ages 12 to 17, with creative programming, gender-neutral housing, and affirming spaces to be your true self.
Wait, so you're going to put a bunch of boys and girls with cameras and mixed housing? They're going to change and sleep in the same area with an age difference from 12 to 17? You don't see a problem with that? Unfortunately, I don't think they do. And what's funny is that I'm old enough to remember that back in 2020, I made a video about them medically transitioning kids, and I got gaslit like crazy with a bunch of wokies in the comments saying, no, they're just socially transitioning kids. They don't get medical treatment until they're adults. At that point, there were only a handful of news stories about people medically transitioning under 18, but just 5 years later, medically transitioning kids has been completely normalized.
Estrogen treatment is irreversible and would make Josie sterile. But Josie and her mother never doubted it was the right...
I'm sorry, guys. I don't give a fuck. I don't care who this pisses off. If you're transitioning your kids, it's because you have a fucking mental illness. And now you're projecting that onto your children. What the fuck are we doing? Jesus. There's no such thing as a trans kid. The only thing that exists are mentally ill parents. That's insane. A 12-year-old kid, you're going to pump them full of chemicals. That is so fucked up because they're confused. Before their brain, before their frontal lobe is fully developed, you were going to make them gender select. At 8, at 12. Yeah, a kid doesn't know shit. I thought Pokemon were real till I was like fucking 11.
Until an unexpected conversation happened one afternoon.
But on the inside, where nobody else can see?
Yeah.
Are you a boy or are you a girl?
Maybe I'm a boy inside and a girl outside.
Really?
Yeah, is that true?
Only you know the answer to that.
Sometimes I think I'm a boy, sort of, but I'm gonna be a girl.
Yeah.
Dr. Olson had a decision.
You are in the perfect place to start on blockers.
And she promises to begin giving her estrogen, female hormones, in 2 years.
Around 13. That's what I think. You're not going to wait until 16 to start. You know that, okay?
A lot of times it strikes me that had this happened just 20 years ago,
Thank you.
I wouldn't have been able to give her blockers and she would have had to go through male puberty. That terrifies me. It's all done. Do you want a hug? I don't know that she would have survived male puberty.
I'm not really sure how...
That makes me want to fucking vomit. I've never seen media that has made me that fucking angry before. And you see how hard their parent is forcing this agenda on them. And we will see the repercussions that this has in our society, ripple by ripple. This is fucking unbelievable.
These people have it in their head that it's okay to allow a young child to make a permanent decision like that, especially considering that the child expressed pretty heavy doubt, and maybe that's the best cue to not put your kid on life-altering medications when they turn 13.
Seems more like we're experimenting on children like the Nazis did, though.
It does seem a little suspect, I agree.
I mean, imagine if the Nazi scientist came forward and said, but the kids really want it.
The one thing that keeps me happy is that we're moving closer to a place where eventually people who do this are going to start getting punished for it. especially since Twitter got bought and stories like these aren't being suppressed anymore.
I had facial feminization surgery. I had sex reassignment surgery. I was on HRT for 17 years. Now I'm on a combo dose because I can't go off. I have multiple health conditions from transitioning young and for transitioning for so long.
This person has to take medication permanently despite regretting the transition because of the damage that transitioning caused. And it's sick because the activist community loves to pretend that none of these drugs like hormone blockers had any side effects.
So what was it for you that kind of woke you up to this isn't what I should have done?
I found out that homosexual transition was environmentally caused in almost every single case by childhood sexual assault or by internalized homophobia or failed boy syndrome. People are being lied to when they're being diagnosed. They're not being diagnosed with what actually causes the gender dysphoria. They're just being diagnosed with a symptom of a problem. And there are multiple problems that cause those symptoms. And when you don't appropriately diagnose people, you lead them into a life of ruin. All of these interventions are permanent, they're irreversible, and they lied to me.
I don't know.
I don't think we should enable people to listen to their mental illnesses. And I think we as a society are becoming whoever can be the most accepting, can be the most good. But I'm sorry, when you enable your friend's bad behavior, your friend's poor behavior, because you want to be supportive, you're ruining their life and you're the worst friend of them all. Good friends hold people accountable and steer them back on the direction of the right path, not enable them to go down a bad path because they don't want to be mean. This is beyond fucked up.
I don't know if the numbers are that high, but sexual abuse history sure is commonly reported amongst people who transition, as well as symptoms of it like drug abuse and homelessness. Now, the age-old thing that the activists like to say is that you could end the life of a trans person by misgendering them. However, if you look at the studies that they cite, the people in the high-risk categories are very often drug abusers or homeless, and HRT is not going to fix that.
And they don't care about the people who are indoctrinated, who are harmed by this loosey-goosey system where you can walk into a therapist in 15 minutes.
It's a great example. You don't go up to an alcoholic and give them a bottle of alcohol and say, hey man, your body's telling you you want this, your body's right. Your brain's telling you you want this, your brain's right. Here, have another drink. The fuck are you, Johan? Johan. We're saying emulating Johan's behavior is what a good person is in 2025. One of the most evil anime characters of all fucking time.
And be given a gender dysphoria diagnosis.
Right, they don't care at all. I think when Lily Tino makes a video addressed as Miss Rachel, that's not about educating people. It's about trying to find the next viral trend to build popularity and promote the OnlyFans account. I think these people rarely, if ever, talk about people who regret transitioning. In fact, I've heard rumors that on Reddit, such people are shunned from the transgender forums. But the nefarious part with kids is that kids are easily manipulated, will often do what they think will impress their parents, and they have no life experience. They've only been around for a few years, so how are they supposed to know at 11 what their desires are going to be at 30 or 40 or 50? Where are the adults? Adults are supposed to be around as advisors to prevent kids from doing stuff they might regret in the long term. In fact, as a society, I think it's people's responsibility to prevent those around them from making stupid decisions. A lot of people's dumb choices could be stopped if they didn't have a shitty friend group. You want people in your life who will sit you down and talk you through major decisions and give you corrective feedback. People need the feedback of others to know how to behave appropriately. It's something that I'm sure these narcissistic activists are missing in their lives. So let's do them all the favor of not appeasing their BS. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
I've never had a video make me that angry and that worried for our society before, man. Jesus Christ. You know what the worst thing is? How many people were bullied into not talking about this shit out of fear of being canceled on the internet? I'm really done being worried about that shit, guys. Knowing that this shit can affect my kid's future, other kids' future, makes me fucking sick. And seeing that kid so clearly behave that way to try to impress his mother, seeing them cry, seeing them go through with that operation when they themselves were having doubt because of what this agenda they were pushing on their kids, that's fucking disgusting. Let the kids grow up. Let their brains fully develop before allowing them to make life-altering decisions that they could possibly one day regret, that can lead to terminal depression and increased suicide rates. It's not something to play around with. It's not something to take so lackadaisically. You need to be fucking careful. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.